The right call is back, everybody. Your hosts, Mark Altman and Cole Altman, are back. We're excited. Cole, how you feeling right now?
You know, it's a good day to be sitting here Saturday afternoon. I mean, Celtics are in the finals. What more can you ask for? I mean, beautiful June day. I don't know what's better than sitting here doing a podcast with you.
Cole, you know what's crazy? Like, I have been so depressed the last 4 or 5 years because, I mean, this is an enormous drought in the city of champions. I mean, this would be 5 years without a championship from a Boston sports team.
Shocking and devastating.
All right, so Cole, we got to start with the first thing, obviously, is Game 1. Celtics came out. You know, Cole, would you agree that Celtics fans as a whole are generally skeptical about the Celtics' success because they've given us so many reasons to be disappointed or when they're emotionally weak? Would you agree?
100%.
So, Game 1, they come out. Porzingis looks like he hadn't missed a beat. And what should we take from Game 1? Like, what do you think is, like, real? What do you think is maybe, like, maybe not going to continue? Like, what's your take of what the takeaways there?
Well, first, I think the Celtics fans have to be prepared for some Kristaps Porzingis regression in Game 2. I think that he came out hot. He came out with a bunch of adrenaline. The crowd got in his back because, I mean, it was his first game back in 5 weeks. But I think in Game 2, I think he'll still be great. But I don't think he's going to come out firing 11 points in the first quarter like we saw a few nights ago. Granted, he's probably going to play a few more minutes. I mean, he only played 21 minutes in Game 1. So I think we could see some better numbers from Kristaps. But, you know, I think that's one thing. I think another thing to expect is that they're going to adjust on Jaylen Brown. They were double-teaming Jason Tatum basically the entire game. As soon as he got the ball, P.J. Washington said it in his press conference when he was ISOing. They would just double team him, so he had to force the ball away, so he couldn't get into his ISO sets, which is why he only had 16 points and he was forced to take mid-rangers. So I think they're going to have to adjust on Jaylen Brown. They realize that the difference between them is pretty small now. So Jaylen Brown's going to take a little bit of a step back, and Tatum might take a little bit of a step forward.
So can I ask this question? If you're Chris Finch, the Timberwolves head coach, and you watch Game 1, are you sitting there going, because I know this is what I was thinking, are you sitting there going, gee, there's an idea, interrupt the lobs. Gee, there's an idea, don't give them all these free corner threes. Because that's what the Celtics did. Those are Talus's two bread and butter things. And the Celtics interrupted. And for all these Celtics fans or NBA fans out there who are like, well, you know, Dallas is going to come back, Kyrie's going to have a better game, this and the other thing. Here's the thing. The Celtics have so much athleticism. You know, between Tatum and Brown and Derek White and Holiday and Porzingis' size, and even Horford is fairly athletic even at 37, like, it's not like the Mavs are going to be able to come out and start doing lobs again. Like, the Celtics defense is that good, and they have the athleticism, so I don't think that changes all that much. What has to change, if Dallas has any chance to win this series, Cole, and tell me if you agree, you're going to need P.J. Washington to play like he did against Minnesota. He's going to have to be lights out. You're going to need a guy like Derek Jones, an undrafted free agent, to play over his head because Dallas has 2 stars, and that's pretty much it. And if you take Drew Gafford and Derek Lively out of the game, who else is going to hurt you? Like, honestly, I'm not even trying to be overconfident. Who else is going to hurt you? For real.
Yeah, no one's going to hurt you. And I think that the Celtics, like you said earlier, have found the blueprint to beat the Mavs. If you shut down Kyrie and force the ball into Luka's hands literally every single possession, yeah, Luka's going to have 30 and 10 every game, but they're not going to win. You can't win with one player when the other team has 5 legit stars who will win you a championship. I think that if they continue to put Drew and Derek White on Kyrie and force him into the paint with Kristaps sitting there waiting for the ball, Kyrie's going to struggle to get going, and the Mavs are going to struggle to even win a game. But if Kyrie gets going, the Mavs could win.
Well, and Cole, you and I, we'll talk about Kyrie in a minute. Cole, you and I, we've had this conversation. Dallas almost tied an NBA record in lowest amount of assists. They had 9 assists in Game 1. You and I talked about this. Whenever you watch a game and you see a team have hot shooting, they might shoot 60% in the first half. You always hear me say this, but was the defense any good? Because if they had all open looks, they're probably going to shoot 60. And vice versa. If they shoot 30 and the defense is good, there's a reason they shot 30. So this is the thing about Dallas. What the Celtics did is they forced a lot of iso ball, which is one of the reasons they had low assist total. And again, they took away the lobs. So, see, to me, like, it would be sacrilegious at this point for you to say, or anybody to say, could the Celtics sweep or win in 5? Because you would think, no way Luka and Kyrie are going to allow that. And I agree. It's unlikely, but not impossible. And anybody who knows me knows I am the most skeptical Celtics fan. So this isn't me being a homer. I just love the matchups in this series. I think the way Jaylen Brown, you said it earlier, the way Jaylen Brown defends, the way you can throw multiple bodies, and the biggest thing, Cole, that I saw in game 1, and you mentioned the blueprint, is Kyrie and Luka had to work so hard on both ends of the floor. Kyrie and Luka, even when they scored, it was very rarely they got an easy shot.
Yep.
I mean, how many times in the Minnesota series did Luka and Kyrie beat Minnesota down floor and have easy pull-ups and have a lot of space? Celtics gave them no space.
Yeah, well, we found out pretty quickly that Minnesota is an inferior team to Dallas. Minnesota has weaknesses all over the place. They don't really have a physical big man that will get a ton of rebounds.
That's true. That was a huge problem in that series.
I mean, you have Cat and Gobert, who are both, Cat's more finesse of a big. He loves taking the 3-ball. Gobert's going to get you rebounds, and he'll get you some blocks, and he's great on the defensive end. But you didn't have a physical big. Now you're playing the Celtics, who still don't have a physical big, but they have 4 players that can get down and dirty, even though despite their size. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are 2 incredibly physical wings on both sides of the floor, especially Jaylen Brown. He's super physical, 6'6", and he still holds his own with guys 6 inches taller than him.
Well, I think that's a big point you're making there, because that was another big key in game 1. And even watching on NBA TV the other day, you can see the Celtics were rubbing off picks effectively, and every time Luka and Kyrie got the ball, someone was bodying them up and making them pay physically. So I do think the physicality, which is, by the way, can we agree, not something the Celtics are typically known for.
Right, agreed.
Right? So, all right, so let's talk about Kyrie a little bit. 6 for 19 from the floor. He's being a smartass after the game and saying the Celtics crowd needs to be louder, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody heard that P.J. Washington came out today and said, quote, unquote, the Celtics crowd affected us. So I guess we were loud enough, because P.J. Washington seems to think so. And since Kyrie's a narcissist and in denial, he doesn't realize that. And I just got to tell you, Cole, people can say what they want to say. Ever since you stomped on that leprechaun, you've lost 11 consecutive games, and the stat lines have been all over the place. He hasn't been good. Is it because of the crowd? Is it because he has baggage from playing in Boston? I don't know. But 11 games is a pretty good sample size to show you that the crowd in Boston is in your head.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, stopping on the leprechaun was a very bad look for him. I mean,
Flipping off the crowd.
Whatever about that. Like, the
Okay.
crowd gives him a really hard time.
They didn't before that. They didn't before he said he wanted to come back. When he said he wanted to come back to Boston and had that lying press conference where he was disingenuous and said he wanted to stay, and then he left, and then the crowd started when he found out he wasn't going to stay with the team, that's when Boston turned on him.
I think, unless it's getting in Kyrie's head and it's aiding the Celtics in winning, I think the Celtics fan needs to let go what happened with
Absolutely
Kyrie.
not.
Why not?
Because that's what makes Boston special, is terrorizing people that turn against us and disloyal. Remember, Damon was Judas? By the way, now Cole, you know 80s music.
I do.
Okay. So do you know the song by Mr. Kyrie?
No.
So it's a song in the 80s by a group, Mr. Until Kyrie wins a game in Boston, I'm going to call him Kyrie. He does not deserve to be called by his name until he actually has a good game in Boston.
You know what?
And now, what's he going to be all mad now? I love when people say that in sports. Well, we better not boo him because he's going to be all mad now. So if Kyrie has a good game against the Celtics, it's because the crowd angered him, not because of his natural talent?
Well, Kyrie, like we said, most naturally talented ball handler to ever play the game.
Maybe.
It's not a debate. Like he
And Cryer to ever play the game?
No.
Little tissue?
No. Kyrie has come around the corner this year, turned a new page on the Mavericks. He's not involved with all the media BS
Has he been
anymore.
coming around the corner when he comes? Yeah. Okay. Very good. Nice job picking that up.
But Kyrie isn't involved in the BS anymore. He's staying out of the political spotlight. He's really just playing to his own strengths. He's focusing more on the game, and that's why the Mavericks are in the finals. The Mavericks are in the finals because Kyrie hasn't put his distractions
I
and
agree with you.
burdens on the team.
I agree with you.
Kyrie has turned a new page, and I respect him for that. And that's why when he gets the ball, when we're at game 2 tomorrow, he gets the ball, I won't be booing Kyrie.
Cole.
I have no problem with Kyrie Irving.
Okay, I'm uninviting you to the game. Cole, if the Celtics were to lose the finals, give me the 2 reasons they'd lose.
The 2 reasons they'd lose, one would be injury.
Yep, Porzingis especially gets injured, re-injured, or something like that.
They could win without Porzingis.
Okay.
The only player that I don't think they could win without in this series is Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown could get hurt and they'd be fine.
I don't know. With Jaylen Brown's two-way play against Luka, I'm not so sure.
I think they'd be all right.
Okay, so you say so Tatum is your answer. 1, okay.
I guess if Drew Holiday played at such a poor level that he was letting Kyrie score at will, and Derek White was really playing at a poor level, if those 2 guards let us down, we could lose. Those 2 are the absolute core of our team because they're defending the 2 best players on the floor.
Okay.
So that's the 2 reasons I say.
So for me, my 2 reasons would be you let someone else beat you besides Luka and Kyrie. Because I don't think you can lose. If Luka and Kyrie get theirs and they play really well, you just can't let guys like P.J. Washington or Derek Jones start going off. You can't have that. That's 1. I agree on the injury thing. But honestly, Cole, the Celtics have shown since opening game this NBA season, when they defend and play aggressive, nobody can beat them. Nobody. And that's it. So if they stop defending, to me, if they let up and they don't continue the level of defense, that's why they lose. Defense wins championships. As much as I hate Joe Mazzulla, I've heard some locker room on social media, I've seen some of his clips, he's preaching defense. Defense wins championships at this level. And so that's, if they don't play that defense, they lose.
Well, Joe Mazzulla actually has a very Phil Jackson-esque, no, listen, hear me out.
Oh, my God.
No, hear me out. Phil, he has a very no.
I can't even believe it.
No, you got to listen to what I'm going to say. He's a very...
I'd like to tell our listeners I'm going to have to put Cole on mute for a few minutes because he actually just said he put Phil Jackson and Joe Mazzulla in the same sentence. So not only am I putting him on mute for a few seconds, I know this may be inappropriate to say about a child, but he will be receiving a drug test after this episode.
I will continue my point. Phil Jackson really used meditation and peacefulness in a lot of his practices.
Joe Mazzulla's a robot.
No, you listen.
He's a computer chip.
Quiet down.
They are so far apart.
He's not a computer chip. He's not.
I am Joe Mazzulla.
Enough.
I don't know when to call timeouts. I can't sense momentum to save my life.
As a strategist, very below par. Would completely agree. But honestly, I think in the NBA, what more can a coach do than be a player's best friend and support their players' practices and be on their side? You don't want a coach you don't need a coach in the NBA yelling at you, pushing you around, motivating you. That era is over.
So why is Eric Spoelstra a better coach than Joe Mazzulla? Then?
Because Eric Spoelstra has an elite balance of the 2. Eric Spoelstra, players love playing for Eric Spoelstra, but he's also an amazing strategist.
Okay.
But listen. Joe Mazzulla, bad strategist, but the players love him. And that is the most valuable thing in a coach in today's. They've grown up in high school and college. They've been yelled at enough in their upbringing.
You know why they love him? I can tell you. Here's why they love him.
Now they're elite players. They don't need to continue to get yelled at.
Here's why they love him. Because when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown get unhappy with a call and they want it challenged, they look over to Joe Mazzulla and complain to Joe Mazzulla, yes, masters. Yes.
No.
You are my boss, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. If that's what you want me to do, even if it's a dumb challenge, I will challenge it, master.
No, Mazzulla is a player's coach. They, like I said, in high school and college in their upbringing, they've been yelled at enough. They've been coached enough. At the NBA level, you need a great strategist that's going to make strategy for your entire team, not specific players. You need your players to feel like they're wanted on their team. That's why Tom Brady.
You're still getting a drug test.
That's what you want players to get drafted, or you want players to be treated.
You're also going to your room without supper.
Be treated like they are valuable, and that's what Joe Mazzulla does.
Okay.
And that's why they're winning 64
All right,
games
so
in
let's
the
just
finals.
let's shift gears for a minute. So bottom line, before we move off the championship, I stick by my original prediction before the series started: the Celtics in 6, 2 blowout wins. I have witnesses. I said that before the series even started. 2 of the 4 would be blowout wins.
For the Celtics?
Yeah. What do you say? I say Celtics, and I'm sticking with Celtics in 6.
I say Celtics in 5.
Because Celtics don't do anything easy. So
I say Celtics in 5. They lose game 3.
okay. All right. I'm with you on losing game 3. All right. So Cole, one more NBA thing before we move on. Let's talk about what's going on out in Los Angeles. So the Lakers are making a full court press to get Dan Hurley out of UConn. So I just thought, I was looking online the other day and I saw the odds that Dan Hurley is the next Lakers coach. What are the odds that LeBron fires him halfway through the season? Can we talk about that? Because the only coach LeBron hasn't gotten fired in the last 10, 11, 12 years is Eric Spoelstra, and he tried to get him fired. Pat Riley came out and said that earlier this season. So, and then, by the way, to add insult to injury, you know what LeBron came out and said yesterday? He said, the Lakers shouldn't be making decisions for me. I'm not going to be here that much longer. They should be making decisions in the next 10 years of the franchise. Okay, LeBron. Okay, we all know that if things go south in LA next season, and by the way, this fraudulent I'm a free agent business, we know you're just posturing until the Lakers get better players. So really, what do you think? Dan Hurley, can Dan Hurley succeed as the next Lakers coach? A, because he's going from college to pro, which we haven't seen a lot of success there, and B, because LeBron's going to get him fired.
Well, before I address that, I just want to talk about Dan Hurley's journey. I mean, he was an assistant coach at URI. Then he was the head coach at
The Ramekins.
Okay. Then he was the head coach at URI. Then he was the head coach at UConn. Now he's going to be an NBA head coach. Amazing journey. Do I think Dan Hurley could win at the NBA level? It's hard to tell. My gut says yes, because of the immense success he's had at UConn, mentoring players as a strategist and a player welcomer.
Agreed.
He's a tremendous recruiter.
Is that an expression, a player welcomer?
You know what?
I think you might have made that up.
I just cornered it.
I think you just...
I cornered the market for player welcoming.
Okay.
But Dan Hurley, I like it. I think it's a solid move for the Lakers.
I think Joe Mazzulla is a really good player welcomer. That's what his strength is, as a player welcomer.
Being a recruiter is a very invaluable trait as a coach.
Okay. Keep going.
Primarily at the college level, but Dan Hurley could be great. What do you think?
I think what he's done at UConn, winning back-to-back titles, is insane this era, to do that with NIL and all this stuff these days. So I think it's an incredible accomplishment. He does seem to have the demeanor to do kind of what you were talking about with Spoelstra, where he could be good in both areas. So I do like that. I think it's really tough to come into a situation in Los Angeles with all the pressure there, and LeBron, in the latter stages of his career, maybe in AD and all this, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I just love how the Lakers tried to upstage the Celtics in the championship by getting this going right now, right as the championship. So that was not an accident either. All right, so couple last points. Just want to talk. I do not want to waste much time on the Red Sox. I only want to talk about one thing. John Henry was interviewed yesterday and described the Red Sox as an asset. And John Henry has actually, in some ways, not only run, what's the soccer team he manages? Liverpool. I don't really care or pay attention to soccer, so I needed help there. So Liverpool, mismanaged them, not spent money there, mismanaged, treats the Red Sox like a Tampa Bay Rays or Kansas City Royals franchise. Cole, I mean, you're going to be 18 years old this year, and in your, still almost 2 decades, I mean, you've never seen the Red Sox be in a situation where they haven't been willing to spend money. The last 2 or 3 years, it keeps trending more and more that way. And how can a big market like Boston have an owner that treats them like a small market team? It's horrendous.
Well, back in 2018, when they won the World Series, they had so much talent on that team because they were willing to spend. They got J.D. Martinez, they got David Price, they got Chris Sale. Granted, they got David Price a few years earlier, but those players were the centerpieces of their championship run. Now they don't spend money. John Henry realized that the Red Sox franchise was trending down once Mookie Betts was traded, and now he's like, oh, it's unsalvageable. I'm still making money. Why invest in something that's not going to give me a return? So John Henry, I see why his mindset is there, but that's not what a owner in a professional sports league can be thinking.
John Henry he runs the he never used to do this. He runs the Red Sox like they're an asset in his portfolio. He's not a fan. He doesn't get excited about baseball. And when you have an owner, and you look at a guy like Mark Cuban, and I realize he sold a portion of his equity in the Mavericks, but when you look at an owner, that's what you want. Look at Steve Ballmer and the Clippers. Look at the Philadelphia Phillies owner, and look at the Mets owner and the Dodgers. They spend whatever it takes. So it's just a really sad state of affairs that a big market history of the franchise like the Red Sox has an owner that doesn't want to win and doesn't really care if they win. And I never thought I would see that. I mean, we've had owners in Boston history like that, but it's been a long time. Even Jeremy Jacobs, the Bruins owner, who was historically hated for not spending money, the Bruins have spent all the money they've needed to in the last couple of decades. So they don't even have that guy to blame anymore. It's really just John Henry. And I don't know, baseball was already trending pretty much down in this city anyway. It was obviously ahead of the Bruins, but I mean, the Celtics and the Patriots, I mean, the Red Sox are kind of an afterthought. Like, I don't think people care that much about the Red Sox anymore.
The two primary teams in Boston now are certainly the Celtics and the Patriots. There's no doubt about it. The Patriots have a bright future. Drake May could be the quarterback of the future. He could be a franchise QB. They have some talent on both sides of the ball. Christian Gonzalez, they have young talent on both sides of the ball. That's what gets fans excited. The Red Sox don't. They don't have any young prospects who are elevating and playing at an elite level. They have Tanner Houck, great. Cy Young pitcher, elite. They have Rafael Devers, been here for a lot of years, great, elite. You don't have anything else.
All right, let's make final comments for the right call. Cole, I'll start. You can finish us up. You could bring us home on the right call.
Bring us home.
Okay.
I'd like to make a prediction.
Okay.
I'd like to make a prediction. The Boston Celtics, like I said, will win the NBA Finals in 5 games. Kyrie Irving will have a massive 2 games in Dallas. So will Luka. They'll lose game 3. Jason Tatum will not win Finals MVP. Jaylen Brown will win Finals MVP. Jaylen Brown will outplay Jason Tatum for the rest of the season or rest of the series. Jaylen Brown is my Finals MVP, and if it's not him, it's Kristaps. Jason Tatum will not win.
Okay, fair enough. My final comments is I'm predicting that in the rest of the series, Jason Tatum waves his arm in disgust at the officials 6 times. The over-under for Jason Tatum throwing his arm out like the officials 6 times. Number 2, I just want to thank Doris Burke because she is such a tremendous announcer.
100%.
She reminds me of Jackie McMullen, the great Boston Globe sports writer who's just top-notch in her field. And I got to tell you, every minute that goes by that I don't have to listen to Brian Scalabrine or Stan Van Gundy is one added minute of value in my life.
The Heat are playing a good game. They're down 25, but they're playing a good game.
That was the worst ever announcing job ever. So we're going to give kudos to Doris Burke for being the first woman. And I got to say, I am paying attention to the WNBA. I'll admit it. Like, I never thought I would be there, but Caitlin Clark has done it. She makes me pay attention.
I want to sound politically correct, but quite frankly, I don't care. Caitlin Clark.
So if Caitlin Clark was here, you'd say, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah, I really like Caitlin Clark. I was talking to Rachel Carpenter about it yesterday. Shout out Rachel.
No one knows who that is.
Rachel Carpenter.
Please give context.
One of my best friends, Alex Carpenter, has a sister, elite basketball player by the name of Rachel Carpenter. Prayers up for Rachel Carpenter and her knee. But, I was talking with Rachel Carpenter, big WNBA fan, models her game off of Caitlin Clark. And I said to Rachel, can you really sit and watch a WNBA game that doesn't have Caitlin Clark in it? And she was like, not really.
Yeah, so that's telling. That's telling. All right, so Cole, for the right call, he's Cole Altman, I'm Mark Altman, and before we sign off, if you see Cole at any time in the next several days and weeks, please remind him that he said over the airwaves, Joe Mazzulla and Phil Jackson in the same sentence. For the right call, we'll see you next time.